We don't have any public comment on that. No public comment on
I turned in a yellow card for both sage grouse and bighorn sheep.
Informational
I gave
items.
it to the lady over here with the yellow hair.
I've got 3 cards.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's a public comment period at the end.
Yeah, this is informational only, and so we don't have any public comment on these informational items. So, and we need to move on to the time. Yep. You can bring, Floyd, you can bring your public comment at the end. We're not too far away, so we'll just hold on and just bring it at the end, okay? 7C, Muzzleloader black powder legal issues. Chief Game Warden Buonamici. The department shall present information on legal black powder and black powder substitutes for regulatory language in NAC 503.142 for muzzleloader only hunts, and its notification to muzzleloader tag holders that Blackthorn 209 is not a lawful powder to be used during the Nevada muzzleloader only hunts. We had some correspondence with a gentleman, with one of your staff, I believe, on this issue a few months ago, I believe. So this is kind of following that.
Correct. For the record, Buonamici, Chief Game Warden. We kind of arrived here because we have some calls from muzzleloaders prior to the muzzleloading season asking, hey, is this Blackthorn 209 powder legal to use in my muzzleloader? And quite honestly, we said, we don't know, we're going to have to research it. So that's what we did. We researched it, and what we came up with, obviously, you look at, first thing we obviously looked at was our NAC regarding the muzzleloader. And it specifically says the use of smokeless powder is prohibited. Only black powder or a black powder substitute such as Pyrodex or 777 may be used as a propellant. So then the question is, what's this Blackthorn 209? In researching that, first of all, just a little background. Smokeless powders, which are prohibited, are nitrocellulose-based powders, and black powders, which are acceptable legally in the state of Nevada, are carbon-based propellants. So, based on that, researching the ingredients in the Blackthorn 209, it indeed was a smokeless powder. It was a nitrocellulose-based powder, not a carbon-based powder. So, due to the questions we had and so forth, we thought, well, geez, if we're getting this many questions, maybe we ought to notify all the muzzleloaders of this, because this powder's available to all of them. And that's what we did. We sent out a letter to all the muzzleloaders on July 26th, explaining that it was illegal to use Blackthorn 209 during the muzzleloader season. They wanted to during the rifle season use that in their muzzleloader. That was fine. So that was sent out. That generated some more phone calls, as was to be expected, saying, "Hey, I got this letter, and Blackthorn 209. They say we're good to go. It's a carbon substitute." And no, it's not carbon-based. And there were issues with, well, the transportation code says it is. Well, there's 2 transportation codes. One's the United Nations Transportation Code, one's the North American Transportation Code. They failed to reveal the North American Transportation Code, which is the smokeless powder. So that's the story in a nutshell. So any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Just curious, how do you, the enforcement side of this issue, how does that work?
The enforcement side, to be totally honest with you, in the field, we aren't trained to tell the difference. I'm sure, if it becomes an issue where we need to be trained up to tell the difference, we will. But this is, derives out of questions regarding a legal issue. We do the research to provide a correct legal answer to the public's questions, and that's what we did here. We're just following what the NAC says. If there's an appetite out there to change the NAC, we don't care. But that's what it says, and that's what we have to enforce.
Go ahead, Commissioner Buonamici.
Mr. Chairman. So, Rob, there's no problem with using this stuff during the illegal weapon, right?
Correct, during the any illegal weapon
It's just a
season.
muzzleloader, which is designed to be more of a primitive hunting.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
I've received quite a few emails and phone calls on this, and my understanding is Utah started this, or adjacent states started this, and that prompted phone calls to end out.
Yeah, Utah has a very similar law to ours that prohibits the use of smokeless powders. So Utah also was researching it. I spoke with their chief of enforcement, and they came to the same conclusion that we did, that indeed it is illegal under the conditions set forth in our laws.
Just curious, what does it look like? I mean, do you pour it out of a can? Is it one of those types, or is it a pellet version, or I mean,
Comes out of a can, granular.
In the emails that I've received on this, one guy issues cross chronograph on a regular basis. He doesn't gain any foot per second at all to perform as black powder. The advantage to why people are using it is the frequency of cleaning. Instead of every second or third shot, you can get 20, is my understanding. I shot other black powders, but not this one.
That's also, Mr. Rob, that's also my understanding, is that the specifications, the ballistic specifications, are very similar to carbon-based propellants. So, but it is still a nitrocellulose-based propellant. And if our regulation was based on ballistics, that'd be a different issue, but it's based on smokeless versus.
so if you were to change to, 209, then you'd be a nitrocellulose-based propellant, and at that point you've opened the door.
At that point, it's illegal and it's a prohibited.
But if we were to approve it, aren't we opening the door at that point? Now we might as well not even have a muzzleloader, it's easy. I mean, because eventually, do you not, if it's nitrocellulose based, do you not get into true higher performance rounds once you cross that
You could
threshold?
potentially get into the higher performance rounds. Most of the higher performance are nitrocellulose based. My guess is, not being a chemist, that they just kind of lightened the load somehow and added some other substitutes, so it's diluted and not as powerful. So it's, the question comes back to commission the muzzle loaders out there. Do you want to keep this somewhat of a primitive one, or do you want to allow all these other variations or not? That's not our decision. We don't, we're not voice one way or another now.
Yeah, I'm not bringing up my own opinion. I've heard Glenn speak at Washoe County meeting and then emails and stuff. The confusion is, it says black powder or black powder substitute. They're saying where black powder, when you say substitute, that's the question is, for the substitute, you specifically spell out Pyrodex and 777. You've got two manufacturers listed. We could list one another manufacturer and say Buckhorn or Blackhorn 209, but you're changing the game then.
Well, we can't do that unless we eliminate the wording, the use of smokeless powder is prohibited, because it is a smokeless powder. We can call it a substitute, but it's still a smokeless powder.
I guess it's up to somebody to file a petition if they want to change anything, but at this
Yeah.
point, it's illegal.
Yeah, and we've advised the muzzle loaders of that now.
Okay, any more comments from the commission? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to